My name is Darby Rardin, and today I'm going to give my Western civilization presentation on Abraham. Throughout this video, I'm going to talk about Abraham's background, big events in his life, and what he represents in Western civilization today. Abraham was born named Abram in the city of Ur in Babylonia. He was the son of Terach, an idol merchant, and from a young age he questioned his father's faith. According to Genesis, he left Ur with his father, his wife Sarai, and his nephew Lot, because it is said that he was called by God to found a new nation in an undesignated land that he later learned was Canaan. He obeyed unquestioningly to the commands of God, from whom he received promises and a covenant that his future generations would inherit the land. The first major event in the life of Abraham was the covenant that was made between him and God. When Abraham was 75 years old, God promised him that one day his family would be a great nation. Genesis chapter 5 verse 5 reads, God took Abraham outside and said, "Look up at the sky and count the stars. If indeed you can count them, then he said, so shall your offspring be." At this point, Abraham had yet to have any children. After many years after this covenant was made, his wife Sarai grew impatient because they still had yet to have a child. Taking matters into her own hands, she gave her slave Hagar to Abraham in order to have a son. Hagar then gave birth to Ishmael, and eventually, when Abraham was 100 and Sarai was 90, they had their promised son and named him Isaac. After the promise was carried out, their names were changed from Sarai to Sarah, and from Abram to Abraham, which means father of many nations or father of multitudes. A second major event in the life of Abraham was the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. This event appears in Genesis, but is also referenced throughout the Old and New Testaments of the Bible, as well as the Quran. In the biblical account of the story, God revealed to Abraham that Sodom and Gomorrah were going to be destroyed for their sins. Abraham pleaded for the lives of any righteous people living there, and especially for the lives of his nephew Lot and his family. Abraham negotiated with God on behalf of the righteous in the two cities. God first agreed to spare the cities if 50 righteous people could be found, and eventually agreed to spare them if 10 righteous people could be found. 2 angels who appeared as men were sent to Lot in Sodom, but were met with a wicked mom who asked for the newcomers. Lot offered the mob his daughters instead, but this only angered the mob more. The angels then struck the mob blind and warned Lot and his family to quickly evacuate the city and to not look back. As they fled the destruction, Lot's wife looked back upon the city and was turned into a pillar of salt. The account of the story in the Quran is similar, though the two cities are not mentioned by name. This account says that Abraham pleaded for Lot's people, but was told that the chastisement would not be averted. Lot was grieved when the messengers told them of the fate of his people, and, in the biblical narrative, offered his daughters in vain to the mob. Lot was told to escape in the night with his followers, and was warned that his wife would suffer the same fate as the rest. Once they left the city, Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed by stones raining down. One of the last major events in the life of Abraham was when his faithfulness to God was proven at Mount Moriah in Jerusalem. Some commentators estimate that Isaac was around 18 to 20 years old when it is said that God commanded Abraham to sacrifice his son as a burnt offering. After having bound Isaac to an altar that he built, an angel sent from God stopped Abraham from proceeding with the sacrifice. Abraham then saw a ram that was caught in a thicket and sacrificed it instead. He then named the place Yahweh Yireh, which means the Lord will provide. Lastly, what does Abraham represent in Western civilization today? In Western civilization today, Abraham is widely recognized as a symbol of unwavering faith, often referred to as the father of faith. He represents the foundational belief in a single God as depicted in the 3 great monotheistic religions, which are Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. He's considered a key patriarch in the lineage from which these faiths are traced back to. His story is seen as a model for obedience and commitment to divine commands. In Judaism, the promised offspring is understood to be the Jewish people descended from Abraham's son Isaac, born of his wife Sarah. Similarly, in Christianity, the genealogy of Jesus is traced back to Isaac, and Abraham's near sacrifice of Isaac is seen as foreshadowing of Jesus' sacrifice on the cross. In Islam, it's Ishmael, Abraham's firstborn son, born of his wife's slave Hagar, who is viewed as the fulfillment of God's promise, and the Prophet Muhammad is his descendant. Thank you for your time, and this concludes my presentation.